Hey everybody, Jessica Levinson in one last time for Harry. Again, I'm a professor at Loyola Law School and host of the podcast Passing Judgment. I want to talk to you about some big oral arguments that occurred this week in the Fifth Circuit, the very conservative circuit that covers Texas, Louisiana, among other states. And it dealt with mifepristone. Mifepristone, as we all know, is one of the two abortion pills that is taken in more than half of abortions in our country. And we've already talked about it. I think you already know that there is a challenge to the FDA's approval of mifepristone. And when did the FDA approve mifepristone? Yes, back in 2000, almost a quarter century ago. The FDA then made changes to mifepristone in 2016 and 2021, essentially making it easier to get mifepristone. You can now get it by a telehealth appointment and easier to take. And so the question before the Fifth Circuit was really about a few things. But the first was whether or not the people who have sued, the doctors and the medical associations who have sued to challenge the FDA's approval of mifepristone, if they have something called legal standing. Now, legal standing means that you are actually injured, that the injury was caused by the action that you're complaining about, and that if you win, that injury can be redressed. The problem here, as far as I can see it for the plaintiffs, is that there simply is no injury, and therefore they lack standing, and this entire suit should go away. But the Fifth Circuit and the three-judge panel that heard oral arguments this week really does not seem to agree with that. We had two judges who were appointed by Trump, one judge appointed by George W. Bush, and they were really very sympathetic to the plaintiffs here, those challenging the FDA's approval of mifepristone. And the doctors here are arguing that they have standing because they might have to treat somebody who took mifepristone and had a bad side effect. I will say that is the type of injury that is really speculative and that is not enough for the kind of concrete injury you need for standing. The other group that's suing these medical associations, they're essentially arguing here that they have standing because women who would have otherwise brought these types of suits are simply too traumatized to do so. Now, again, I think there's just simply no legal standing here. But if there is, then the next question is, in my mind, what are federal judges doing second-guessing the decisions of the FDA and scientific experts? And one of the things that I found kind of most disturbing about the oral arguments is that you heard the judges say basically, yeah, we belong here. It's fine for us to second guess. Why should everything that the FDA does be infallible? One of the big problems here, of course, is that the idea that mifepristone is dangerous is just not based in science or, frankly, in reality. All of the evidence that I think is credible indicates that mifepristone, in fact, is about as safe as taking Tylenol. So there were very lengthy arguments, as I said, this week. What happened at the end? I think there was some indication that the judges might have thought that the challenge to the original approval of mifepristone might be time barred, so that that original approval potentially could still be in effect, but the changes in 2016 and 2021 that made it easier to use, and particularly the big change being that you could get mifepristone via a telehealth appointment, I think those are potentially called into question here, meaning I think that the Fifth Circuit would say that those changes were not proper. Now, at this point, really, we have to wait for the Supreme Court because they're the ones, based on this kind of semi-convoluted procedural posture here, that will ultimately make the call as to what happens next. So I hope that was a helpful, quick summary of these important oral arguments, and I know that Harry will update you more.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.